Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Miss Pandaria return in Classic and why you should consider playing Classic Miss Pandaria and the benefits of it. Now, obviously, the standout is the Monk and Pandaren. Pandaren being a new race and Monk being a new class. It's overall, really quite straightforward. The Monk and Pandaren being really big highlights in terms of new and exciting classes. The Monk especially has great lore, Pandarans have a great starting area, and it was still at the time where races and their introductions were new. If you've never been into Pandaren or never got around to it, it's definitely highly suggested to take a look at them in Pandaria Classic, as it's really them at the peak of their powers. Speaking of Pandarans, for me personally, the setting of Miss Pandaria was one of the aspects of it that was incredibly underrated. It's very true that I think at the initial aspect of the expansion, most people felt like it was not a great setting. But by the end of the expansion, through all the raids, the expansionary areas, new reasons, new zones, I think a lot of people really enjoyed the story. It set up something great and super interesting. It set up something that was really fun and exciting. And I think the overall story and the setting, the strong Eastern vibes, are much more appreciated now than they were at the beginning of the expansion. With this in hindsight, I think personally it is really something that, for me, most players can really come to enjoy. The setting is something that is really fun, unique in the grand scheme of World of Warcraft. It's something we're not going to see, really honestly, new ever again. And I think it's a huge change up for everything. So that would be my honest take on it. I just think it's an amazing setting and you should experience it if you haven't. Let's talk about content, because Pandaria actually has some of the best content in the game, at least when it released. We have the dungeons with some fantastic new dungeons, some really solid, amazing challenge modes for the dungeons where you had timers, kind of a precursor to Mythic Plus. We had new PvE content like Timeless Isles. We had content like Throne of Thunder, and that was the first time we'd ever seen those kind of big expansionary additions in zones in the game. So that was huge. We also had scenarios which were big and a completely new type of event, which I think has inspired a lot of things for World of Warcraft. So that was huge. And we got plenty more content. Like, we've got tons of stuff. The raids were exceptional in this expansion. I personally remember all of them really well. And I think, you look at things like the farm, so the farming aspect and Valley of the Four Winds, treasures which came around for the first time, the amount of rares there are to collect, the amount of different, kind of crafting options there were. I think Pandaria was an underrated classic in terms of content. I think it really developed an amazing style of content, and I think a lot of it has still stuck with modern WoW, and it's stuff that players don't mind. New zones, mid-expansion, new areas, the raids were exceptional, everyone knows the dungeons, and I think there's a huge value in this expansion, and experiencing that first time with a lot of players. So I think it's really fun and a really solid component of a reason as to why you should play Classic. Then we have pet battles, so not like a major thing, but something that I think is overlooked is pet battles. It's not necessarily always the most exciting thing. I think most casual players have probably never done a pet battle in their life, but there are those that really do enjoy the game's concepts. Now, pet battling is really cool in the aspect that it actually is a new kind of collectible game mode. So it was a big one for the collectors. It was really big for them. It introduced a fun little Pokemon style battle mission, which I think wasn't anything too crazy. It's relatively fun, but it's really the collection aspect of it that was huge for a lot of players, and being able to kind of start that process over from the beginning could be really cool compared to the huge kind of aspect it is now. Then, second but not least, we have talent tree changes. Now, I personally prefer the Lich King TBC classic style of talents. I'm sure a lot of people did, which is why we have the current iteration in Modern WoW. But in terms of the 3 talent select, I think Pandaria was probably the best implementation of this specific type of talent tree. This whole set, build, 3 talents, rotation type of thing. I think they just seem to have the best balancing. I think they just got it right, allowing you to make impactful choices, especially in the final row. And I think they had it to the point where you didn't feel like you were missing out on something. Obviously, this is done away with even in Modern WoW, and I'm not going to say I prefer this to Lich King, but if you didn't like this aspect of Cataclysm, for example, Pandaria, I think, improved on it a lot. It made it way, way, way better. And then finally, there have been some crucial quality of life changes that are going to be implemented. One of the major ones is reputation for Cloud Serpent riding. You don't need exalts with every character. It's going to be shared account-wide, along with other certain reps, so that helps a ton. That's it for me.